Today marks day 24 of the Eldorado Park community sit-in at a local police station, and much to their dismay, the newly elected speaker in the City of Joburg, Colleen Makhubele, has cancelled her visit to the community. Residents have been calling for intervention to deal with gun violence that's now rocked many of the people. Their neighbours are among those people affected. Our reporter, Mnisi, is there for us to get an idea of the feeling among the people there. Linda, disappointment, as I was saying, because of this visit that's now been called off. Why is it no longer happening, and how are people feeling?
Well, we reached out this morning to begin it to the office of the Speaker, and we were told about, arrangements that had not been made, particularly when it comes to, the leadership, the ward councillors of this community, and that is why we were told this particular visit to the area was cancelled. And as you rightfully mentioned, a feeling of disappointment from the community who really want their pleas to be taken up by government. When I arrived here this morning, I was asked, in fact, they told me that they were quite tired of talking to themselves because it seems as though authorities are not taking these issues seriously. These are the same issues that have led to them coming to this particular police station to camp out day 24, as you rightfully point out, and there's seemingly no end in sight to it. So the residents are continuing, and I'm joined now by one of the leaders, community leaders, Sharis Pretorius. Thank you so much for your time. I see you guys are having a meeting, and one may wonder if this is related to, of course, the Speaker of the City of Johannesburg, newly elected, cancelling her visit.
Yes, Linda, it does actually have that does have bearing on this meeting. However, you must understand that also we need to strategize when it comes to how we are going to move forward and how we are going to continue doing things. Our biggest problem at this point, however, is that we are still without government in the City of Johannesburg. We are still without a government now, based on the fact that David Makhura has resigned, with our provincial government. So how do we deal with that? How do we overcome that? The only thing that we can do is, of course, go to the office of the president and say, okay, fine, we've been out here for 24 days. What is it that you are going to do for us? Because right now, we have sent letters to the office of the presidency. We have sent our memorandum through to them as well, and we have yet to receive a reply. So for us, it's a case of, okay, fine, we have the opportunity now to ensure that our voices are actually heard. The president has not even responded. He hasn't even acknowledged that this is what's happening in Eldorado Park, and that to a large extent is based on the fact that when it comes to the city, they haven't been giving that information to the powers that be when it comes to this community.
You touch on David Makhura's resignation, and when I spoke to you this past weekend, you mentioned how you were supposed to have a meeting with the former mayor Mpopala on the 8th of October. So where does that put you really as a community?
It puts us on the back foot, but it does not mean that we've been knocked out. It gives us an opportunity to now say, okay, fine, Mr. President, when one person was shot and killed in Bloemfontein, you traveled all the way to Bloemfontein. You did not come to Eldorado Park, and we've had 13 killings. So how is it that we fit in on the scale of importance when it comes to a community that has been sorely lacking when it comes to services, when it's been sorely lacking when it comes to services from our police station? I mean, the other day we had an issue with regards to people actually opening up cases, and that is the problem that we are faced with right now, that we are not getting the services that we justly deserve from government and from the service providers within the City of Johannesburg.
There are reports of shootings in places like Riverlea and Westbury. Does this mean that now you'll be joining hands as communities and then heading to the office of the president? Is that your next step?
Well, we believe strongly that protocol always needs to be observed, because that is how we do things. We put steps in place to ensure that no one and nothing is overlooked. So what we have done is we have spoken to the communities of Riverlea as well as Westbury, and we've said to them, okay, fine, what is it that we can do to assist you? They are aligning themselves with what we have done thus far, and we are now taking the plight of Eldorado Park to the president, and then of course we will highlight that communities such as Riverlea and Westbury are faced with the same challenges and ills and that they need to address.
All right, Sheriff Pretorius, thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. There are plenty to discuss. Tembegile, as you would have heard there, some key points saying that at this very moment they're only left with the president, and they've sent letters and haven't received any response. So they're still strategizing, and we'll see later on what comes out of this meeting.
Leader Mnisi, thank you very much for that update from Aldo's.